Ferrell's career really began, as with so many great comedians before him, on US television's Saturday Night Live. That was in the mid-1990s. On the big screen, he moved from memorable cameos, like Dr. Evil's sidekick in the Austin Powers movies, to impressing as terrorist fashionista in Ben Stiller's 2001 Zoolander. Soon he was the lead, including an oversized elf, 1970s egomaniac Anchorman Ron Burgundy, NASCAR driver in Talladega Nights, skater in Blades of Glory, and middle-aged adolescent in Step Brothers. Then there were the weightier roles for Woody Allen in Melinda and Melinda, rather touchingly as a depressed tax auditor in Stranger Than Fiction, and now perhaps his most challenging role yet in Everything Must Go, where the acerbic wit turns to bitterness. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Mr. Will Ferrell.
Thank you. Thank you. I was hoping for a standing ovation, but oh well.
Oh well, here we are. Welcome to BAFTA Life in Pictures.
Thank you.
And let's start, as we inevitably do, at the beginning.
Oh my God. That is an arresting shot right there. Could we get in closer? Is there any way to get in closer, actually? Pleasure to be here.
We'll forget that. Yes. Thank you. So, does the clowning start at school? Because that tends to be what happens with comedians.
It tends to be. I was a little bit the exception to the rule, only because I was what I call a very conscientious class clown. I enjoyed having fun, but at the same time I was a very good student. So, you know, I'd push the limit right up to the point where the teacher would say, "That's enough," and then I would get back to I'd get off my desk and back into my seat. Yeah.
But I suspect from the build and kind of bearing that you were not clowning because you were being bullied or anything. You were doing it maybe because you were bored.
No, I was bullied severely. Yes. No. I was not bullied at all. No, I was just I just loved making my friends laugh, and I found, you know, through humor that was a great way to make friends as well. And as I got older, into my high school years, we started with a group of friends writing little skits for high school assemblies, and that was kind of, you know, I remember one night foregoing doing all my homework and spending 4 hours perfecting a little, what would essentially be a radio bit, and thinking to myself, oh, this doesn't feel like work. I can't believe I just spent 4 hours and it felt like the blink of an eye. And I remember thinking, oh, this, you know, if I could actually do this professionally, that would be fun. I was kind of suppressing the idea, because I had seen how tough a life in entertainment was for my father. You know, he's been a working musician for 40 years now, and it's, you know, I saw the peaks and valleys of how difficult that was, and so even though I loved this thing, being a sportscaster or getting into newscasting was somehow my version of a real job that still kind of satisfied that thing. So, yeah, that was my initial plan.
But in fact, things obviously went a different way.
But I failed, yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe it wasn't entirely a question of failure, but a very formative experience was obviously having something to do with this improv group, the Groundlings.
Yes, yeah.
Whose alumni include Lisa Kudrow and...
Right. It's a theater company in Los Angeles. I'd seen a show and thought, oh gosh, this would be amazing. In fact, I actually got pulled up on stage as part of a audience participation improv, and was so scared I just stood in the corner and said nothing. And but even then I was really enamored with that whole process. And they had their own school that you worked your way through the ranks, where they taught you improv and sketch writing, and so I signed up for my first class there.
And do you think it gave you, I mean, was there something about a kind of edginess that would then get into Saturday Night Live that was fostered there, do you think?
Well, it definitely was the training ground for that show completely. I mean, it really gave me the tools to learn how to kind of quickly write sketches and not be too precious about things, because I think that's a lot of what kind of inhibits people from writing comedy. It has to be really disposable. You have to kind of just write it off the top of your head and not judge it too much, and because some of it's 50% of it's going to be terrible and the other 50% is going to be hopefully good. So it really reinforced this kind of thick skin.
And it's a very memorable life model, isn't there? A nude life model.
Nude life model, yeah. That's just
fantastic.
That's not really an impression. It's just it's just showing off what God has given you in terms of a fantastic physique. Yeah.
But that was one. I was going on to say that's one of the created characters.
Do you want to kiss me right now? Or am I totally picking up on something? No. Oh, it was the cameraman. Cameraman wants to be. You would like to kiss me? Okay. After the show, no problem.
So there was him, and there was the guy who played in the band,
yes.
and then there's also, and we're about to see a little bit of this, a man who has his own particular way of training dogs. And he was called Dale. Sturtevant.
Oh. Why am I not remembering this?
Okay, well, let's refresh your memory now.
Is it the commercial for dog training?
It is the commercial
Yes.
for dog training.
Yes,
It is
and
indeed.
he has a very specific approach.
With a very young pup, correcting problem behavior can be especially maddening. And like you, I've probably tried all the tricks. Screaming myself hoarse, starving them, locking them in a closet for days on end, or just beating them without mercy. But after my third arrest and court-ordered anger management counseling, I learned to channel my rage into an effective, nonviolent puppy training tool. It's called dissing your dog. How to train your puppy with mockery and verbal humiliation.
So, did you have comedy heroes?
Let's see. I really kind of watched almost anything and everything, and I loved trying to stay up late and watch The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, because that was really the only, before cable, that was the only outlet to see stand-up comedy. So I would, if they're gonna have a comedian, I'd stay up late and watch it, and if they didn't, I wouldn't. If it was Anwar Sadat, forget it. And then I loved, like, Steve Martin is a big hero of mine, and Bill Murray and Chevy Chase and a lot of the original Saturday Night Live cast members, and so those were kind of the guys that I kind of looked up to. And
did Saturday Night Live, it proved to be useful in a number of ways when you did start to take parts in films themselves? I mean, because Mike Myers, they'd all been through that college as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it kind of was just invaluable in the sense that you had to learn to be incredibly adaptable. You're working with a brand new host every week who's going to be a different type of actor, whether they're a dramatic actor or a comedian. You had to kind of, you were handed changes constantly in terms of the material, and working in live television, it really was this kind of brutal at times boot camp in a way that once you got on a film set, it almost felt slow. It almost felt like, well, this is easy. This is not as hard as Saturday Night Live. You start out on a show like Saturday Night Live. It starts at 11:30 at night, so you're not in the public eye as much as you would be on the cast of Friends, where it's prime time. So I was on the show for 7 years, and people still had thought I'd only been on it for a couple years. So it was a very slow build, and you start to be someone who's, oh, that guy's funny. Let's have him do this small part in a film, and then the parts start to grow, and I was just very fortunate. When I left the show, I really didn't have this list of scripts lined up. We had just finished filming Old School, and they decided to hold on to the movie, which is usually a bad sign. They decided they're going to release it in I think November, and they waited till February the following year, and so Vince and Luke and I thought we had made a funny movie, but you never know. So that hadn't come out yet, and then I'd just been pitched this idea of a guy who was raised by elves and and grows, and I thought, wow, that's either the worst idea ever or one of the best, and I can't.
Hadn't you been a Santa outside a store at some stage?
As a struggling actor, yes, I was a mall Santa Claus.
So you had the
I already had the training. Yeah, I already had that. I already had the know-how.
But when it comes to Elf, you are of course playing Buddy, the elf,
yes.
Who gets to work amongst ordinary people.
Right.
And they don't know, of course, initially about his special qualifications.
Right.
But we're about to see Buddy in a clip now.
Okay.
Wow. What's this?
This is the North Pole.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Where's the snow?
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
It's time for the announcement.
Okay.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh, my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
Because actually, of course, the elf there is, I mean, he's just sweet all the way through, isn't he? Whereas a lot of your characters have that kind of boyish look, but there's always the sense that there might be a little something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going on. Yeah.
And do you think that part of the edge of comedy is actually that bit of danger?
I think so. I mean, I think it's always, so much fun to kind of have that juxtaposition and have another intent while you're saying or doing something else is just gives, I think the movies that we have done, especially the ones that Adam McKay and I have written, just that extra layer that maybe you don't see the first time you watch it, but the next time you pick up on something different that we're doing.
Oh, we're going to talk about Ron Burgundy now. And
yes.
You see, and immediately there's a great roar of recognition because we love Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, no, and
we love him perhaps maybe more than the Americans loved him.
I think so. In fact, Adam and I always talk about the fact that movie, that in the UK, you guys got it way far ahead of the American audience, and it was kind of, the reaction from audiences here and the press over here was so flattering to us, and it really it was nice because it confirmed that we thought we had made something unique and special and different. And, but in America, it was a little slow to people eventually came around to it. But we literally, when the movie came out in the States, we literally heard people who had the reaction of either that's the funniest movie I've ever seen or it's the worst movie I've ever seen. And friends who had said they'd heard fights break out at the end of people yelling, "I want my money back," and but we've always said that this audience here is just, let's just face it, smarter. No. No, I'm just kidding. That's going to be on the internet. Will Ferrell says UK audience is smarter. That was a joke. Everyone's smart. Everyone in the world, all the audiences in the world are smart. I have to protect my foreign box office. Especially China. The Chinese are the smartest audience. They are by far the smartest audience because there's so many of them.
Ron Burgundy himself, was he based on anybody from your time as a sports reporter?
Well, growing up in the era of 70s television when local network news was the king, I think we forget that you used to have newscasters who would show up at the opening of a supermarket and 10,000 people would show up. And so I loved, as a little kid, I don't know why, I loved watching local news. There was something comforting about watching news people.
It is a great study of 70s sexism.
Yeah.
So we're going to see an example of Ron Burgundy with his reluctantly accepting his co-anchor, Veronica Corningstone.
Very good.
Here's the clip.
What Brian didn't tell you was that those were not real pirates. They looked convincing, though.
Oh, yes.
Well, for all of us here at Channel 4 News, I'm Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, San Diego.
And thanks for stopping by.
But mainly, stay classy.
Thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy, I'm Ron Burgundy.
Thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy. Ron Burgundy. Huh, you are a real hooker, and I'm gonna slap you in public.
I had just wrapped Anchorman, and then agent calls and says, I think Woody Allen wants you to be the lead guy in this. And I'm like, really? And he wants you to read the script, and so I read it and thought it was really wonderful, and then I thought it was just, you know, if I like it, then they're going to tell him that I'm interested, and then he'll decide. But he was like, okay, it's yours if you like the script. So I'm on a plane to New York like the next day, and that was a very interesting experience.
Because in Woody Allen's films, and where he's not necessarily playing himself, then he often has a kind of on-screen avatar.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so was that you?
He literally told me if he was in the movie, he would have played the part that I'm playing, and it's very difficult because he starts to direct you, and the way the script is written, then it's hard not to act like him. And even when he's explaining, he's doing his. I mean, it's Woody Allen, right? So he's like, no, you have to be more. You know, you have to be like this, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then, so it's like roll the camera, like you're like immediately, channeling him, and so I really didn't want to do that. I really wanted to kind of have it be a distinct performance that was separate from him, and I think in that role there are definitely moments where I'm very Woody Allenish, but for the most part I was able to kind of find my own way through it. Yeah.
So we're going to move on now to Stranger Than Fiction, which is another. I mean, it's a character-driven piece, and it's very much about a man who has. I mean, there are farcical and absurd elements to his character, but it's actually really quite a touching portrayal. And it's the second Golden Globe nomination you had, I think, in 2 years. The first one was for the Crazed Nazi and the Producers.
Right.
Completely different kind of thing. But Stranger Than Fiction.
Well, kind of the same. No.
Stranger Than Fiction has, I suppose, what you might call a meta plot, doesn't it? Because it's about this guy who thinks he's living his life, but in fact, there's the novelist writing it for him.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was one of the more brilliant scripts I'd ever read, and I loved this amazing premise of this guy slowly piecing together that this voice he's hearing in his head is not, he's not going crazy, but it's literally the narrator describing his life, and trying to figure out what the end of this is, and how much he's in control or not in control, and I kind of couldn't believe that I got the part, because Mark Forrester, the director, was debating whether he wanted to use a dramatic actor who could play comedic moments or a comedic actor who could be dramatic, and he said he felt like I could pull off the drama part, and took a big chance on me, and I'm forever grateful, because it's one of my favorite movies.
Well, in the excerpt we're about to see, we just need to know, for a little bit of context, that he is a tax auditor.
Yes.
And that he is auditing the accounts of a bakery, but actually he's rather more interested in the baker herself.
In the baker herself, right.
So let's see the clip.
Are you an anarchist?
You mean, am I a member?
An anarchist group, yes.
Anarchists have a group?
I believe so, sure.
They assemble?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that completely defeat the purpose?
It was difficult for Harold to imagine Miss Pascal as a revolutionary.
Not now.
Her thin arms,
What?
hoisting protest signs, her long, shapely
Nothing.
legs dashing from tear gas. Harold wasn't prone to fantasies, and so he tried his best to remain professional, but of course failed. He couldn't help but imagine Ms. Pascal stroking the side of his face with the soft blade of her finger.
Now, I guess in some ways Step Brothers is the sort of logical outcome of a whole lot of characters who you played, where there's this sort of arrested development idea in it. So did you decide just to push it to the maximum?
We had so much fun working with John during Talladega Nights, and John had said, let's do another one, and we really thought, oh, that'd be great. The three of us kind of collaborated, so uniquely in a way, and we sat down and we had dinner and we pitched a bunch of different ideas, and it was really Adam who later said, what about two grown men, one lives with his mother and the other lives with his father. They get married and they're forced to live together under the same roof, and for whatever, we'll figure it out later, but for whatever reasons they're allowed to live there. And we immediately just thought, without any sort of thinking of any explanation or exploration of male adolescence, we just thought it just struck us as such a funny premise to create a comedy, and then later it kind of came to us that this was a lot of this is going on, with adult children still living at home, still having kind of these feelings of righteous indignation, and it just struck us as such a funny thing.
So you inadvertently made a social commentary film.
Absolutely, yeah, a huge one. Yeah.
Well, in the excerpt we're about to see, the two of you and John C. Reilly, who are sharing a room, of course, this is an important thing.
Right.
Just come up with a great plan about making your room better.
Let's
see that clip.
Yes.
How you doing over there?
Really good. Okay.
Does your son know anything about carpentry?
No, not a. Did I hear a drill?
Dale! Power tools.
Dale, no power tools.
Oh, what?
No power tools.
You know what? I forgot I have to brush my teeth.
That is not your toothbrush.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm all done anyway.
We did it.
We did it.
It looked amazing.
Look at that. That looks like what you would buy from a store.
It should have been.
Look at all this floor space.
So
we
much.
do aerobics in here.
So many activities.
Do step class.
It's making my head spin how many activities we can do.
Play Army Man.
Yeah.
This is how we do it.
Da, 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 da.
Hey, I never asked you.
Yeah.
Do you like guacamole? Oh! Open! Oh, God! Run in! Run in! Dad, Nancy, it's bad. It's so bad. There's blood everywhere. The bunk beds were a terrible idea. Why did you let us do that?
Did you?
It's so sad that I still laugh at it.
It's great that you still.
Oh my God.
But did you, in preparation for that, did you have like a romper room where the two of you rushed around? How did you get quite so in tune for the?
We would just do take after take of just kind of, coming up with stuff, and like that is literally, in that scene, so much is improvised that John dancing around, singing "This is how we do it." I like what? I don't even know where that came from. And but that that's kind of any actor that comes and works on a movie with Adam as a director, it really comes away with it saying, that's the most fun I've ever had, because he encourages, and it's also going to be really intimidating because everyone's kind of comfortable improvising, which literally just means we're just comfortable failing, because that's, you fail 80% of the time, but the 20% where you kind of knock it out of the park, that's where you get these moments that just feel so alive, yeah.
But do you have problems with corpsing on set? Because that's one of the lovely things looking at those old Saturday Night Live sketches is when you can see that somebody's just going a little bit.
Yeah. I've always been pretty good about it, even though when I was doing the show, if I could see that someone was vulnerable, I'd go right at them. Yeah, I'd try to make them laugh any way I could. And but it is the sign that you're creating something, I think, that's going to be meaningful, because it's if you're cracking each other up that way, it's usually a good sign.
Now we're going to move on now to Everything Must Go, which is your new film.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a real departure, because although there is some dark comedy in it,
Right.
this is not a comedic role,
No,
is it?
no.
In any way. I mean,
Yeah.
you can tell right from the off, from your body language, from everything,
Yeah,
that it isn't. So it's based on a Raymond Carver short story.
It is,
mostly.
yeah. Dan Rush, who is the writer-director, basically created this great story from I think it's a 7-page short story, and it really captures, if you're familiar with Carver at all, kind of the stark quality of his writing, and it was once again another really, I just thought a wonderful piece of material that when I was thinking about doing it, I had my wife read it, and just to like, this is kind of dark and edgy, but really cool, and something I've never done. What do you think? Why don't you read it? And she read it straight through in an hour or so, and her reaction was like, "That's a great script. Why do they want you to do it?" And and I said, "I know, right? Why are they?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't mean it that way." And I said, "Oh, but I had the same reaction. Like, this is such a neat premise, and so I was so flattered that Dan wanted me to do it. But I hadn't seen, the idea that someone has everything, literally and figuratively, stripped from them and thrown into their front lawn, and decides to just live their life in their front lawn and figure it all out, exposed to the whole world. I just thought it was such a great premise and metaphor for, yeah.
I was thinking, seeing as you're not doing anything but riding your bike all day, you might want to come work for me?
What kind of work?
Make some signs, maybe sell a couple things.
What are you offering?
Discussing salary and responsibility up front. Smart, very smart. I'm thinking $4 an hour, okay? If I have to leave, you stay here, watch my stuff, act tough. I'll feed you, I'll give you bathroom and cigarette breaks as required by state law.
I don't smoke.
Good. Great. So we got a deal?
Arizona minimum wage is $7.25.
Okay, $7.25 it is. What? It's a good deal.
I want to learn to play baseball.
You want me to teach you how to play baseball? Yeah, I don't know.
I see all your trophies and stuff on the lawn.
Yeah, I know. That's from high school. Why do you want to learn to play baseball?
My mom says I need the exercise.
Okay, I could see that.
And the kid there is Christopher C.J. Wallace, who is the son
Of
rapper?
Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
Yes, one of your favorites. It's okay, don't be shy. Yeah, he's a remarkable young actor, and that was, in a way, that relationship between my character and Kenny is almost I think the most pivotal relationship in the movie, as they both kind of help each other kind of figure out their lives. But so we, in auditioning that role, it was tough to find that right kind of kid who could just be really earnest and very real and not mannered, and when he read the part, we knew like that's Kenny. Yeah.
So if a whole lot of drama scripts came in with barely a laugh amongst them, would that be fine from now on?
From now on, well, I think it's highly doubtful that would happen. But I love the challenge of doing these different things, and it'd be great to kind of continue to complement the comedies I get to do with these other types of roles that are you know, I think it's just, anyone who's creative, it's naturally, I think, an instinct to stretch and grow and do something different, and I loved this experience so much. You know, it was, in addition to feeling freeing, it was also really frightening too, to have to kind of push yourself in a way that you're not accustomed to do. So I'd love to do more.
I want to thank you, Will Ferrell, for staying classy for this past hour.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, this is great. I appreciate it. Standing ovation.